crack it and I'll do it. All right, this time on Stay Tuned, we let the Cutlass loose. Hit it.
Found some not so great metal work down here. It's not really how you want to repair metal. This is my 1970 Oldsmobile Cutlass. We call it the Red Hog. I got this car in trade in 2020. It was someone's long-term project that unfortunately they passed away before they finished it up. And it's been sitting for a couple of years. In the last month or so, we've got it running. We were able to cruise it around, but it's not really a running, driving proper car yet. So this time what we're gonna do is make sure that it runs right. We're gonna make sure that it's charging. We're gonna get the overdrive torque converter control, lock-up torque converter working. We're gonna make sure that this thing actually can stop, and we're gonna get some kind of front end on here because it just isn't there yet. But then this should be like a sweet car I can take out, cruise around, have a blast with, because winter's coming and I'm gonna put some miles down on this thing. All right, so my 1970 Cutlass has a 4-speed overdrive transmission swapped into it, a 200 R4 that would have come in like a Grand National or a Hurst Olds from the 80s or Monte Carlo, any one of those things. And it's a great transmission. It's a 4-speed overdrive, tight gear pack. But it needs to have a signal or a power sent to it to lock up the torque converter on, like cruising on the highway and stuff. And to get that done, we have to install some kind of basic controller. I got this controller here from Painless Wiring. It's got a actual solenoid for the torque converter. It's got a connector that goes through the trans, and it has this 2-way brake switch. This plus a vacuum switch will get the job done. There's a couple of different ways to do this. That are moderately hokey. You could put a switch on the dash. You could try to wire this stuff up yourself. But what we're going to do, I think, is the most complete way to do this without getting like an electronic controller, which at this point in 2022, you cannot get your hands on. So this is sort of second best case. So we're going to get this thing up in the air, pull the pan off, and start installing stuff even directly on the valve body and through the case of the trans. But it's not that complicated, I promise. All right, so one cool thing I learned from having this car is that if you swap a 200 4R in place of a turbo 350, the short one, which would have come in this car, you can use your stock drive shaft because the whole transmission is like exactly the same length. The mount sits back about 7 inches, but on a full frame car like this, all you do is move it back, find 2 new holes, and bolt it in. So you got your stock cross member, stock drive shaft. It's like a very straightforward swap. Get that extra gear. Yo! All right, so the Painless kit comes with a lockup solenoid for the torque converter. I think there's like several different styles, and they're just making sure you have the right one and that the one you have works, so they just give you one. It's one of the more complete kits I saw. The first thing we're gonna do is remove the actual converter, torque converter lockup solenoid. It's held in with these two 10mm bolts. I believe some of the kits don't come with a new solenoid, but the Painless one does. It's one of the more complete kits I've seen. I think that there's like maybe a couple different styles, and they want to make sure you have the right one and that yours works. So I'm going to pull these two 10 mils, drop this down, scoot this little guy out of the way, and we get a fresh one. Then I'll take the harness off all the way out the side of the case of the transmission. So that guy, pull these wires out of here.
And metric.
There she is. All right. So this is the 4th gear switch. This is going to ground out when you're in 4th gear. Why do they want you to run a different one? I think because some of them are different style also. So essentially, no matter what 200 R4, if you buy this lockup kit, you'll be in business. It's a good thing we're making new fishtail shirts soon, because I'm getting this thing covered in ATF. And that I gotta have a freshie. So anyway, fishtail shirts coming soon. You're gonna get rid of this pass-through connector. All right, new connector is going to go through the trans and the side here. Line up that tab. Snap it all in. That thing is home. Beautiful. This one to rock. All the wiring is done for our lockup kit. We got the new solenoid in there. I'm going to pull out the little gaskets that go on the filter because we're going to replace the filter with a newer one. As you can see, there's so much metal running through this thing, it's not a bad idea. So I'm just going to slide this up and in there. I think I may have to do it in 2 steps, so let's see if it goes home. Right. Send this thing home. Need some bolts over here. So now that we've done everything internally in the transmission to get the torque converter lockup wired inside there, the next 2 pieces, and the only 2 pieces left, are a 4-pole brake switch and a vacuum switch. So essentially, we know now with our 4th gear switch inside the transmission that it will only lock in 4th. These 2 other pieces, essentially, there's a 4-pole brake switch. So whenever you're on the brakes, it unlocks the converter. And this is a vacuum switch to make sure that if you are hammering on it, it also unlocks the converter. So basically, it's all in line. A little bit of power comes through the brake switch, comes through the vacuum switch, then goes into the transmission. It's all one wire. And it's like, if this is cool and this is cool, and it's in 4th gear, it locks the converter. So that's it. And this is actually adjustable vacuum-wise. So if you have a little bit of a wild cam, you can adjust this thing so that it does lock under cruising only if you don't make a lot of vacuum. All right, we're gonna toss it in.
Brake switch. Okay. And then the vacuum switch is this.
Let's clip this on. Boom. Now that's all done. All right, so now that we have the torque converter lockup kit fully installed, we have this issue, and the issue is that this is a 3-speed shifter. We have a 4-speed transmission. I could get some crazy looking aftermarket shifter. There's a ton of them, but I like this console and I want to keep it kind of clean. So ShiftWorks makes sort of this cool adapter system. I'm going to pull this apart, install a 4-speed detent into this thing. It has a 4-speed indicator bezel here, and it has an adjustable shift cable, and it changes the lever arm on the trans itself. So it's a complete system. It's pretty awesome, and it's going to let this 204R work just right. So this car is just sort of laid together. It's just kind of pretend put together. So I'm going to pull this console out. Normally there would be fasteners and hardware involved, but not this time. I don't know if we need this much hammer, but we'll try it. And that's how you do that whenever you do this. And you take the console right out. Why am I sweating? Don't worry about it. Yo, grab, yeah, come this way. I'm gonna take it all the way out so we can do it on the bench because this thing's kind of crusty and gross, but a lot of this car has been screwed together somehow. Console came out once I got that little T-handle off, which took 2 seconds after monkeying around for a while. Let's not peel that carpet back. Take this whole thing out of here. This should fit through here, but somebody bent it up pretty good because they didn't have the right clip probably for it. All right, it's just that easy. Grab that guy. Found some not so great metal work down here. It's not really how you want to repair metal. I don't know if this is a rust scenario or this was like a 4-speed hump or very steampunk. If you were to take this car to like Burning Man or something, they would think it was sick. Usually I just like to like weld it back together and then put some seam sealer over it. This is different than that. It's okay. This is like, was the drive shaft banging into the floor? I don't really know. We will figure it out. So the central piece of this system is this detent bar. This detent bar here, which has just an extra space for the overdrive. This has, you know, 1, 2, 3. This has 1, 2, 3, 4. So that's the secret behind the way this thing works. I'm going to pull out this detent bar, replace it with this one, lube everything up a little bit, and slam it back in the car. And then the other work will be on the transmission side. That guy comes out. All right, so this is the ShiftWorks piece. It's replacing the OEM piece. Make sure you have park, which is the large detent here going towards the front, or your shifter is going to feel real weird. I'm going to do a little bit of grease here, probably spray this off. Slide it on both sides of these little channels. All right, that bad girl is fully restored. She's ready for Pebble Beach. Here it is.
Atlantic City.
All right, that's first, second, third, overdrive, and then boom, in the same gate, you can knock it into neutral, reverse, and that's park. That feels right. I don't make a lot of horsepower. Crushed it. Running a 1560 at 88 miles an hour right there. Somebody cut this hole with a tomahawk. All right, we're gonna try to open this hole up a little bit, make it a little bit better alignment on this cable, because when Michael Myers put this hole in with his hatchet or his chainsaw, it was a little off. Place. Scooted everything over just a little bit. Maybe we can make this guy happy. All right, interior stuff is done on the ShiftWorks shifter conversion. I now just have to put on the lower brackets and get this thing dialed in and adjusted. So I'm gonna take the factory lever off the trans. I've got the shifter itself in overdrive. So we'll put this thing in overdrive as well, and then do a simple little measurement, make sure we're happy. All the way out is park, so reverse, neutral, overdrive. This is the short selector shaft guy, so they send you everything you need if you had a long shaft style. But and the idea is that this, the measurement from here to the center of this pin is 5 3/4 inches, and then you should be pretty much dialed in. So that's what I'm talking about. Ultra tight. Cool. All right.
That's cool.
All right, let's go see how it works. All right, shifter's in, it's dialed. We did a little bit more adjusting on it, and every gear is actually there. Seems pretty happy. First, second, third, overdrive, neutral, reverse, and park. So we'll rip it around for a while if we have to fine tune it, but it's definitely finding every gear, and that's awesome. Coolest thing about this kit is that it comes with a little inlay here with that fourth gear on it. So it's pretty cool. And I would be ready to throw this stuff back in, but I just realized from banging around in here that these seats only have 2 bolts each in them. So we're gonna put this thing on the ground, blow the doors open, get the seats bolted in, then put the column and everything back in, get this thing back together. All right.
Oh yeah, this feels great.
Feels like a seat?
Feels like a seat.
Yes.
Made for short people.
Right, so my favorite part of this shifter kit is this 4-speed indicator plate, and it doesn't exactly fit, so I'm just taking a little bit of material off of it so it sits in there happily. On the disc sander,
So we notice here that the back part of the back seat actually does not match the bottom part of the back seat. It's way wider, probably out of a Chevelle or something else. So the Cutlass has these side trim pieces that have to slide back. So the seat should really be about this wide, and then there's a filler piece, which we actually have, not gonna work out. So we're not gonna get a new back seat. We wanna get this thing on the road. We're gonna cut out a couple of inches of the back, you know, peel the vinyl back, cut up a couple of inches back, re-glue the vinyl on the back, and just kind of tuck this back, which will go down a little bit, which will allow the window cranks to work, because right now they're hitting this. So we're gonna get after that now and see if we can make this work. All right, so we got 2 inches all the way here on the back side of this panel. We're gonna trim this out around the back seat. So we measured from the front mounting holes to the 2 little tabs inside the door jamb, and we need 2 inches in order to scoot this back and down.
overdrive, baby.
How are we looking on the nicest piece of the car?
I don't know, how you doing with it?
Oh, wow.
That was a compliment. It was a joke and a
Thanks,
compliment.
buddy.
There was a bunch of metal on this thing, and it nicked up this, and you can see it through a little bit. It's all right, you won't
You
even
spray
notice.
the backside with silver again.
That's what I will.
He's got
got
this
it.
covered.
I got it. Well, see if the belt sander is the best way to take these little ridges off so this thing will sit down.
Let's see how this fits. Oh, that's pretty good. Right up against the brackets here. Let's see if the knob works. Oh, yeah, baby. Look at that. Nothing like a cool breeze on a... Let's do the other side.
Just tossing on some rear view mirrors, one more piece to get this thing down the road. These are the coolest mirrors I've seen. They have these like little lugs that slide inside, and you tighten it up. We've got the interior back together pretty much. We're still missing a bunch of seals and like, you know, moderately important junk, but it's got a shifter that works, it's got a steering wheel I can hold on to. That's what's most important. It's got a glove box. I can put all my gloves in. That's very important. Now we're at the front end here. One thing we found out, and I think the reason that this car doesn't have any of the front end parts bolted to it is that this is a 7172 core support, radiator support, and it's a little bit harder to bolt on our 1970 stuff. But I looked on a bunch of internet forums and did lots of Googling, and people were like, it's impossible to change over, it's a big deal. I don't really think that it is. Essentially, the safety latch, you know, the secondary latch for the hood, if your hood pops up, that thing that you have to pull to get it up, is on the other side, but I think with a little bit of cutting and stuff, we can get it where it needs to go. There's also a second hole down here. We're gonna make that work, no big deal. And then here, where the headlights bolt in, I think the spacing is a little bit different, but we've got Sawzalls and plasma cutters. And this on the 1970 would be stepped and not level, but we're gonna figure it out. I think with some spacers, a little bit of cutting, we'll get it taken care of, because with just about everything else, getting a radiator support is not only expensive, it's like 600 bucks, but it's also very hard to get your hands on right now. So we're just gonna skip it and try to make this thing work. I've got my buddy Zach here. He's gonna be helping out here and there. You're gonna see him on camera here and there. He's been working on painting, kind of just like scrubbing and painting a lot of this stuff. So we're gonna get cracking. So these are the sort of headlight carriers. You can see stepped. Zach went through, scrubbed and painted these things so they're looking fresh. Well, would you say this one lines up and the rest we're gonna drill out?
Yeah, you should have to drill 3 holes.
All right, I see this one lining up halfway decent, but it's gonna need a spacer. But that's about it. We're just gonna level them in and start bolting stuff down. There? Mm-hmm. It'd be nice to get it pretty straight. Nah, it's like a sad clown Cutlass scenario. No, we're gonna try to do a halfway decent job. Looks good already though. There you go. That look right? These are the same size lights, right? Yeah. So the deal is this, to make these 70 headlights work with the 71 core support, and I don't know why anyone would do this unless you got thrown all these parts like we did. We're gonna just space everything out about a 1/4 inch, just to clear these raised pieces that are probably alignment pieces that don't do anything for us here. Then we gotta drill in our surrounds, and it might look ever so slightly wonky with them push forward, but I doubt you'll even notice it, to be honest. So we're gonna do it. We wanna get this thing up and on the road. Zach's gonna get cracking on that stuff, putting on spacers, drilling everything in. I feel like I'm gonna go do this other thing that I've been meaning to do forever, which is port that other Pontiac head. You can see my shame over here. So we finally got a Lakewood bell housing in for the Firebird, and it's time to port that other head because my guy Larry at Roberts Engine Development's probably got that short block ready to go together by now. Port this head, bring it over, make sure everything's dialed in, and that thing, which is serious, it's gonna be running soon. This first, and then
we know
exactly where it goes, and then just use the lights to dial it in pretty good. Ah, dude, I just bought these. Son of a bitch. This is dope.
These are already painted.
Yeah, cool.
That bumper wasn't expensive.
The bumper is fine, but these I just bought.
Does this go in the grill?
Probably. You want to put it there?
Yeah.
Man, I just bought all. Oh, this is good to have. The bumper was 25 bucks, but I just bought these things. Lame. When you get your car, go through all the parts. Like all of them. I now own 3 Cutlass rear bumpers. 5 sets of tail lights.
Gonna see you at the swap meet.
I know, I'm like a Cutlass person now. This is my problem with all these builds.
Hold on,
This year I've become a Pontiac guy, and I'm gonna have I'm gonna be an Oldsmobile guy. I don't know when this happened. I have so many extra parts for all these. I'm gonna have 3 rear bumpers, 9 sets of tail lights. I don't want to be any more guys. I'm enough guys already.
Yeah, we can put it on.
All right. All right, watch the car and let's go in. Good? love it though. They were like, it can't be done. You can't put 70 headlights and grille on a 72 Support. It's already there. We did it. We drove a couple holes and then we bolted it in, and it's pretty good. Probably a little tweaking maybe. I'm getting excited though. I just want to look to put some miles down on this thing. Get the red hog out in the field. Where do hogs run? Get him in the woods. I don't really know where I'm going with this. All right, it's all back together. 72 rad support, 1970 everything else, and boom. Look at that thing. Red hog. Getting it together. It looks awesome. Love the blacked out grills. This is a mediocre job here of spray painting the match, but 65 miles an hour from 3 lanes over, you're gonna love it. Seeing this thing in your rearview mirror, us waving our arms wildly to get out of the way. It's perfect. Boom. Core support, don't need it. All right, last time we just wanted to get this car down the road. So we freshened up the drum brakes, put on a new master cylinder, and it is absolutely terrible. The drum brakes are clearly not round. When you hit the brake pedal, the front end jumps all over the place. It's a disaster, and I didn't want to spend any more money buying new drums. So we went on Summit, bought a disc brake conversion. They will sell you just the stuff you need, which is like hoses, spindles, rotors, pads, calipers. And I was still able to keep the dormant master cylinder that I already replaced, not spend a bunch of money. It's like 500 bucks. We're gonna throw that on, and this thing should actually stop like a red hog should. I don't really know what that means. How did hogs stop? Stop good? Hogs stop good? All right, we're gonna take the red hog over to Pottstown Street Cars. My buddy Brad has a dyno shop there, dyno tuning fab. They do a bit of everything. And we're gonna see what kind of horsepower this Rocket 350 does at the tires. If we can break 200, I will be thrilled. Thrilled. What do you think, Michael?
No, 169.
He's saying 169. I think he's trying to.
169.
Well, at the tires, so not great. We got Zach.
147.
147. These guys are not believers. They also might not be wrong, but we're gonna figure out what happens. It's time to hit it. I'm gonna fire it up, running through the gears, make sure the trans is full. What number you got there? Not charging. All right, so I don't know the condition of this alternator, but I also went and grabbed a Summit 1-wire 100 ampere, so we don't have to worry about it, the wiring of the car, any of that stuff. You just hook it up mechanically, hook up to your battery. It's gonna charge, and it's internally activated, excited, and regulated. I'm excited. Trying to get this thing to the dyno. I'm telling you, it's gonna make some horsepower. I wouldn't call it a lot, but it's gonna make some. Yeah, this car is what a transformation in a couple of weeks, dude. This is like almost a car. Cruise this thing. Step 1, cruise it to the dyno. That's exciting in it by itself. This chrome boy's going in. It's a 100 amp alternator. Help us keep up with those fans we put in, for sure. And again, it kind of controls itself, which is nice. I'm glad something here can control itself. You know what I'm saying? 14 and a half, that's more like it. Yeah. Let's hit the streets and see what's what. And shift. Shift. That was a shift. Right? Kinda? Yeah, however fast this is, I don't want to go any faster than this. There you go, right? It's doing some stuff. First gear, she got them all. I'm gonna try to go through the gears myself. I felt like something.
That was a shift.
Yeah, that was a shift. You know, I don't even know, like, we're driving this car now. It looks like a car, it's got a front end. It's got brakes that kind of work. Hasn't turned off yet. Really feels like we did some work here.
Hell yeah. That thing is sweet. Tony, see that?
So yeah, the brakes kind of came alive a little bit.
I like that.
It's all over the road, and it's tuned like total garbage, but we'll see what happens.
Well, I think that's the point of today.
Yeah. All right, so we just pulled into Pottstown Streetcars, my buddy Brad's shop. They built some very fast drag cars, 275 cars, essentially pro mod cars, real nasty stuff. This is the weakest thing here by a lot. We're gonna see what we can get out of it though. They've got a couple different chassis dynos. They do a bit of everything here. But I'm excited. Made it here, which is number one, amazing. Still alive, brakes feel better than when we left, so pretty great. Pretty excited. All right, Brad gave it a once over. Total timing is at 31 degrees. That's where he hasn't changed anything yet, I don't think. And we're gonna give her a rip, see what it does. We never built it to make a bunch of power, but it would be nice if it made some.
Snap.
That's beast. You don't want that. That's never gonna do anything. What up? Making 175 already. Hit it. Anything? Hell yeah. 191?
Horse.
I like that. Woo! Dang.
This thing's a ripper now.
250 foot-pounds of torque.
Yeah.
That's pretty good.
Got the tires, baby.
I thought that was coming on too fast and basically dumping fuel into it. So it's still at a little bit, but you know, it sounds good to me.
It's got the torques.
Yeah, I'll take it. All right, so Cutlass is back together. This thing is running killer. We did not hit 200 horsepower, but it made 191, and it makes 260 foot-pounds at the tires. So it's really running awesome for what it is. It's back together. It's got brakes. I'm gonna start driving this car around. I love this thing. I did throw a bunch of nitrous at it in the ether. It didn't explode, so I can't swap it just yet. Time to put some miles on it. All right, that's it for this episode. Stay tuned. We'll see you guys next time.